Hello.
Greetings. Sorry.
Greetings. I'm Alicia. I am his lovely wife and editor.
Yes, this is. I am Pete. Peter Von Feld. I prefer to be called Pete. Um, this is my channel, Gamers Paradise. You've seen me before with Anthony. We're trying something new with these few episodes. I'm going to include my wife, and Anthony's going to be here for now. We've mutually agreed that he's just going to be a writer for now, for the time being. Um, you can ask in the comments as long as you're respectful. You're more than welcome to make a comment. Um, Anthony and I have been former roommates for a very long time. Roughly, we were former roommates and we've been friends for a long time. I should have said that. Um, for a little over 15 years. So we have a certain understanding with how we are on camera and how I'm used to that behavior. You might not be. He is a little rough around the edges. He's an acquired taste, so to speak, and my friends and other friends and family can agree. Anthony, we mean nothing against you if you see this. Just
Yeah.
you're a very good friend and a very good brother in Christ. Um, with my wife, when my wife and I are on, we are going to be focusing mostly on games we like playing. Um, we play anything and everything. We both enjoy playing the Nintendo Switch. We're both looking forward to games. Um, on Friday, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Yes.
She's Team Eevee and I'm Team Pikachu.
Yes.
With the episode that Anthony and I will eventually talk more on, it's going to be being content with what you have. Um, Pokemon is a fine example of that for me. Um, I like playing Pokemon because you collect the creatures. They're various elemental themed creatures, and you use them in fighting the other monsters. And it's an RPG, a Japanese RPG.
Or it's colloquially known as a JRPG.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to say. And for me, the main games, I've never felt like I have to complete the Pokédex. Because I'm more of the story.
It's always the fun story. I like to do it if I can. I never aimed to. With Sun and Moon, honestly, was the first game I actually completed the local Pokedex, and that's just because in Pokemon's defense, Game Freaks, they got rid of the national dex. A lot of people were all up in arms about that, but if anyone's ever played the games, no, there's over 800.
Okay, yeah, over 800.
By the time the new ones, Meltan and Melmetal, the newest little creatures in Pokemon Go, they're going to be integrated. I can't pronounce it right. I'm not an articulate person. That will roughly be around 805, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But anyways,
it's almost 1,000 Pokemon.
And next year there's going to be even more. So I don't blame Game Freak for cutting back to the local area. And there's a conglomerate of all of the other games and regions in that game. Anyways, you are content because, hey, you get the ones you want to get and you play. So I'm going to be focusing on that, and I'm sorry, I'll let my wife speak now.
Well, in Alola, I understand why we don't get the the international decks. It's because Alola is a bunch of islands. It's sort of based off of Hawaii.
It is loosely based off of Hawaii and any other tropical area. Mostly Hawaii because the developers have actually gone to Hawaii. And I'm not so sure about an artificial island being there, but there is a strong preservation for Hawaiian and other tropical wildlife there.
Because it's because the islands are so small, it's so easy to have invasive species that could wipe out the native population. And the only time I think of artificial islands and stuff is off of the Saudi Arabia's coast. They have artificial islands.
Yeah, on top of that, also on that, there's plenty of other tropical regions where this would work. Um, but being content with what you have, um, that's why, like for me, it when they do include all of the whole cotton picking mug of the whole library or Pokedex, Pokemon Index, if you really want to know what it stands for.
Oh, I
Anyways,
think anybody
I'm
who's our
content with
age
getting
and
my
younger
favorites.
already knows what a Pokédex is.
Pretty much. I'm talking about those who might not be familiar with a game that's been around roughly a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
Around 22 or 23? 23 years after this year?
I think it's slightly, no, it's, yeah, it's
Started in
slightly younger than
1996. It
me.
started in 1996. And it's
So it's
soon
around
to
my
be
siblings'
2019.
age.
So it's roughly about a little over 20 years.
Yeah. And, I've been segueing. I've been playing Detective Pikachu. I love it. It's a different type of, it's not part of the main series. Anytime this is a spin-off game.
And a lot of people have the more fun with the spin-offs because you don't have to worry about collecting the whole Pokedex. You can have fun with the story. A lot of people
Or
will
a
see this.
different type of gameplay.
Yeah.
There's Pokemon Conquest is very much like Dynasty Warriors, sort of. Just with Pokemon. There is Pokemon Mystery Dungeons, which
Yeah.
I have played. They are fun. You play as a Pokemon in there. Detective Pikachu, you play as a boy named Tim, trying to find his dad, who is a detective.
And a lot of people will see this as youngsters' first LA Noir. I cannot pronounce Noir to save my life.
Noir, yes.
I'm not going to try it. But you know what I meant. And there's a lot of things. You got to look at the clues. You got to, in LA Noir, you look at the clues. You see if the person's lying or not. You look at their facial features. One of the biggest things about the game LA Noir is you persevere, make sure you can tell if the person's being honest. Sometimes they are being honest, and you won't be able to tell it because it's just like a normal person. If you try to interact with on the street and you're a detective and you're trying to solve a crime, they might be a little shy about someone literally interrogating them with a lot of questions, so they will buckle under pressure and it will look like they're nervous because they're not prepared to deal with something like that, and they're generally not what's the word I'm looking for? Confrontational. My wife, I love her to pieces. She's a wonderful person, but
I'm not very confrontational.
She avoids confrontation at all times. So for me, when we need to talk about something important, I have to be wise and tactful and approach it wisely. I'm human. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I fail and I don't do that properly. But we always resolve the issue as soon as we can.
Yeah. Now,
this is the wife I've said in my channel before that I wish I had met first. She's been nothing but good to me, and honestly, a lot of times I don't deserve this wonderful bundle of joy that I have.
Sweetheart.
And we have 2 kids together. Right now they're asleep. They're
very ornery kids.
They're carpet tearing tyrants. My parents will attest to that, and her mom, for Christopher at least. And Layla's starting to develop her own personality. It's fun to watch their personalities grow. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm looking forward to playing these games with the Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee with Christopher. Watch how he interacts with this. Mm-hmm. It's a great development tool. I know a lot of, with social media especially, they've been trying to villainize video games for the past 30 years. But great studies have shown and proven that brain development, fine motor skills, gross motor skills. What else? I don't want to speak all of this here.
Well, and there's research that was done with surgeons. the group of them who did not play video games and those who did. Now, those who did had much finer control on their hands, so they have really good hand-eye coordination. And um, there's also been research that's been done that um, kids who have maybe disabilities, uh, more who play video games tend to be a lot more social. And yes, if we go by when we play games, we make sure if we're playing games with our kids, we make sure we look at the ER,
Even most people will say the the
the
ratings
rating
on
system.
games. It's garbage. It's just there to sell because it has to be there by law. But that's not all you should look at. Just because it's a kid friendly game, there could be some themes and elements that you may not like. You may
Mm-hmm.
not want the kids to be exposed to because they're too young to understand that particular concept. So, with that in mind, Pokemon, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with showing my kids that. There may be a parent out there that doesn't agree with the whole. I mean, to be honest, that there is a mafia, the villain you fight literally the Pokemon universe version of mafia. If you're okay with that and you tell them this is not real, this is fake, there are real people like this, you have to be aware. That's where vigilance comes into play. That's where having perseverance comes into play. Content with what you have. All these things play into Christianity as well as regular everyday life. You don't
And
have to be a Christian to have these basic behavioral concepts down. It helps if you're a Christian. I'm not here to save you. My channel is not here to save you. That's entirely on God and his timing. I would like to use Bible verses whenever I can, but when I'm when we have videos with my wife, this part of the channel is going to focus on day-to-day application versus scriptural application. Dad, you wanted me to try something new and tie in different things, and this is one of the ways. It doesn't always have to be scripture. It doesn't always have to be daily life topical. There needs to be both in balance.
yeah,
And I
and for our audience, I am originally from Southern California.
She
I
is proud of that fact. She will tell that to you 5 times in a row just because she might have forgotten. She thinks you need to hear it again.
but
And it's
I'm
worth hearing again because she's proud of the fact that she's a California by Jiminy.
I'm a California girl. Um,
I'm from Kansas.
but you grew up here in Oklahoma.
I'm from Kansas by Jiminy. Mhm.
Well,
That's
and
my
I
story, and I'm
grew up
sticking to it.
in a family that is more spiritual than concrete going to a church. And I come from a very depending what generation can be certain generations could be much more conservative in my family where much younger generations could be a little bit more liberal.
Oh, and in case you're wondering, with her speech, she is actually legally deaf.
Yes.
So she does have a little bit of deaf speech.
Yes.
I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me. I applaud her for actually being able to speak as well as she does because there's a lot of deaf people out there that are similar to her, but not quite because no two deaf people are exactly the same.
Yeah.
But there's some people with deaf speech that this is almost sounds like someone with a mental illness.
And all and the reason why I speak so well is because I had almost over 12 years of speech therapy since early intervention to my senior year of high school.
And also those of you who may have stumbled upon a mysterious person who made 3 videos on YouTube. I married her. She made um, Van Helsing. videos.
Uh,
I think they're adorable. She's a bit camera shy about that.
yeah, well, I didn't like my voice because in my head, my voice is much lower
In my
register.
voice, I sound much different than how you hear it. I've noticed that myself, and also I'm not used to when I watch this, watching what you guys see. It's going to be mirrored. It's going to be flip flopped, and it's like every time it's like, oh yeah, mirror effect.
Yeah, and what? Yeah, so I when I talk about religious stuff, and I come from a different point of view, which is
Yes,
always a good thing. If you talk to someone with a different point of view
it
from
gives you a better understanding of the world you live in. Um, excuse me, I have heartburn and such, but yes, that's a very good thing. But I know that she is a Christian. It's not easier, like she said, not easy for her to think of it in that perspective because she did not grow up in a Christian centered environment. And one
even though
day
my mom tried.
when she feels comfortable, I would love for her to eventually share her testimony, but that is between her and God, and when she feels she's ready, and when God feels she's ready. That's I cannot force her to do that. If she wants to, that would be wonderful. If she never does, that's also wonderful.
Yeah,
What we told you is more than enough for what's I feel is what's necessary for this channel.
yeah. So back to Detective Pikachu.
Yes.
You play as Tim, a young. I don't know if he's
In
mid
most of
teens
the
or late teens.
I'm just gonna wing it, and with most of the Pokemon games you've ever played, with the exception of a few, including Pokken Tournament, there you play as a 10-year-old.
He doesn't act like a teen.
In Pokken Tournament, I tend to believe it's probably someone at least 16 because the height and way it looks
He
does not
must
look like
be
a
at
10-year
least
old.
16 because he's driving in this.
So he has to at least have a learner's permit or in a place where he's allowed because there is for kids underage to have a special driver's permit to go to and from school and to and
That's 15.
well
If the
even then
15 in the U.S., I don't
there's
know.
some special like farmers permits and even also in other countries such as Europe you don't need to be that age. You're considered an adult at like 13, which is like wow, okay,
And,
awesome and creepy.
well, and you run into his father's Pikachu, and you solve.
Sounds like Danny DeVito. I don't know if it was. I know they toyed with the idea of having him as the voice actor, but it really, he's a gruff Pikachu. He is literally a PI, personal private inspector Pikachu gruff
And
voice. It's
you are the only
hilarious.
one
Who can hear him?
who can hear him. It's due to a certain Pokemon. I am not gonna spoil it. I'm getting towards the
I
end.
still think it's pretty cool. I think they could have written it better to make it where that he's the only one to do it. Naturally, they have to writing Ex Machina everything, but it's still fun.
And throughout the game, you can point and click, grab evidence, testimony, and you can figure out who did what. And there's a lot of little puzzle mini games, like putting a picture back together or unlocking a lock or stuff like that, which I absolutely love. I'm more of a puzzle person. I'm not much of a. I do not like shooters. I tried to play Halo once or twice.
Halos 1 and 2 are the only ones that exist, in my opinion. The rest of them are, nope, not happening. I've seen too many other media of various other parts of Halo that I wish they didn't make, but what can I say? Fan fiction is a thing. And
Well,
there are places to find your fan fiction. And it's disturbing, honestly. But
in
anyways, Halo 1 and 2 are the better ones.
well, see, when I first played the first Halo, Combat Evolved, I think it was the full title. I have two younger brothers who love shooters and stuff like that. I could not figure out the controls of that, and I got killed after the first. uh, what a cinematic or whatever within 5 seconds.
Cutscene.
Cutscene, whatever.
Cinematic or cutscene works. She
And
likes to use the most logical definition that you can find.
I
That's why I
try.
love her.
I and sometimes I will use really big words.
And I'm among the few people that understand it. I feel special.
Because I'm a big bookworm. I've always been. It's like my well, home away from home. And a lot of teachers that I had, because I am hearing impaired slash deaf. My spelling is horrendous. It's gotten better.
She spells the way it sounds in her head. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not. Because
No, and a lot of vowels sound the same.
English is the most confusing language to ever use. There, like for example, with the word fish, there are more than enough ways to spell fish without using fish.
Yeah.
There's like 5 off the top of my head that I can think of just doing that.
Yeah, and the reason why I like video games and Detective Pikachu specifically because there's an emotional storytelling there, and you can tell through the story that this son loves his dad very, very much. And so in this Dad's Pikachu also. And they're working together. It's teamwork. Because the Detective Pikachu.
That's part of the body of Christ that I mentioned before.
He in interviews the Pokemon because you cannot understand other Pokemon. You can only understand the specific Pikachu. Yes, he does have a little detective hat on.
And yes, the little Pikachu has a dirty mind. And it's Japanese writing, what can I say? Sometimes it's just funny and sometimes it's downright creepy.
Yeah. Well, and I connect with a lot of games with the emotional storytelling. I actually do like Breath of the Wild.
For example, with Detective Pikachu, like I said with the parenting thing, I'm going to wait till Christopher's a little bit older to understand a little bit more about life before letting him play this game because of certain subtle themes that are in here that no kid should be exposed to. Like, not even a 10-year-old. I'm thinking once he's like maybe 15,
Yeah.
That's how I was raised. If my mom saw something like that in a game or a show, I wouldn't be allowed to watch it, and that was that. Unless I was smart and snuck to my friend's house, or incredibly stupid. But hey,
and 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 there's also been studies, especially with kids who have a lot of anger problems, or and some guys who don't even have anger problems. I'm an atypical girl because I love Breath of the Wild. I like combat games that are not shooters. Sort of like Dynasty Warriors.
Even when I wasn't in the Army, I never really was one for shooters. I just felt it was too close to home, even then. I say that, have said that when I was in the military and after, but even before me being in the military, it's just too close to home. I don't want, as I've said to Alicia, why I don't like Game of Thrones. I want to play my fantasy. I want to slay the dragon. I want to save the damsel in distress, or the idiot in distress. There's a certain nostalgia critic that has to be all politically correct anymore because of social justice warriors. But I want to go on an adventure. I don't want to find the logistics behind war. I don't want to find logistics behind, with gun or, moving pieces in weaponry and wars. That's not interesting. I don't want to be a cop in investigating a crime scene. That's not I don't want. I play a game to escape reality. I don't want to play a game to be enveloped in reality. That's
And
the whole point of a video game to me, is to play video games. There are those that like the perfect sports team. No offense to Anthony. He likes video games pertaining to sports mostly. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how he likes to play. It's a great to see how he likes to play video games. I've always been the type I like to broaden my perspective. That I have a music playlist on my MP3 player on
huge.
YouTube Music. Over 3,000 songs worth of things of various many different genres. Mostly Europe, because Europe still has music right anymore. It's sad, but America lost what music means. They just want
Well,
money.
it's this now music is more concentrated in the online space. Not a lot of artists are going to the studios anymore
Yeah.
because they can make their content and make their music more.
All you need is a good laptop and a blue screen, and you can have a music video doing whatever you really want.
Yeah.
And it really shows. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's not. You pay for what you get for what you pay for, however the saying goes.
And with his topic of fantasy of Game of Thrones, I love Game of Thrones because I like the mind games and the political stuff because I love history.
And
In
she sees the
history,
historical aspect of it.
yeah.
That's what attracts her to it. See, everybody likes things differently. It's fun to see what other people like. That's also why I wanted to include my wife on this show. And all you male gamers out there, the college ones that just think that gaming is a thing, there are female gamers that can probably kick your butt in Halo. Just accept that fact. There are probably females that can kick your butt in Street Fighter. They exist. My sister loved playing Legend of Zelda Link to the Past. And when we had a Nintendo 64, she loved playing Ocarina of Time with us. So I grew up accepting the fact that it's not just guys that play games. There's all walk of life. One other thing I like about gaming, one thing that is very subtle and not necessarily spoken but understood amongst the true diehard gamers, and that is nobody judges your age, your gender, your preferences, your sexual preferences, your
As
how you
long as
sexually
you're
identify
good,
yourself.
you're good.
Is you like playing a game? I like playing a game. That's all a gamer needs to know. There's an episode, for example, in Dharma and Greg. She tried to talk about everything with the people, and eventually the poker team left. And Greg got mad at her, and she realized, oh, it's not about knowing people, it's about playing a game. So she got a new poker team for him at the end. And it was one of the more hilarious episodes of Dharma and Greg.
And
And
the
I
thing,
bring that up because gaming in real life is very much so like that. I don't want to know about your background. I want to know what games you like. I want to see if maybe we share a common ground with games. That's the whole point of games. With that, Christianity can be approached that way if you find common ground. That's the whole point behind this ministry. I know this is not my ministry. God has put this on my heart to make it a ministry. At first, I wanted to make it an arcade cave, a modernized with all sorts of consoles and video games. I realized, well, in Oklahoma, I can't really well do that, but I can still make it a ministry, or God still can make it a ministry in another genre, another medium, through YouTube or other social media. That's the whole point of this. It's not to bombard you with scripture verses. Yes, I like doing that to have the scriptural tie-in. I also want to have a practical tie-in as well. And I think both sides are equally needed.
and it's like, uh, and for a lot of male gamers, like, oh, there's no female uh, uh, developers in No, there's always been a female element. A centipede in a lot of the more non-violent video games are done by women. They've been here since the very beginning of gaming, and they're going to be here until gaming
As
ends, which I
I
hope
don't
never.
think gaming will end, but the way paywalls are going, it will be forever shaped in a negative light because of the corporate greed that I have talked on. I will bring on an episode talking about corporate greed. Um, that'll probably be an episode with me and Anthony. Um, um, in the future, sometime. It's to be determined right now. But like she said, Bayonetta was created by female developers.
And I
Lollipop
love.
Chainsaw, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a female developer behind that one too.
Actually, I think that her design was a female designer. I think I need to look.
I know Bayonetta was for sure. We're
Oh
not
yeah.
so sure about Lollipop Chainsaw. I just said I would not be surprised if that were the case. Because if you play that character, it had to have been written by a female or as an extremely effeminate heterosexual male. Or probably homosexual male. But clearly someone, like I said, it's the way she's written, the way that you play the character. I don't see a straight male writing that really. I don't. I have a hard time thinking that a guy could be that clever with writing.
And
For example, with a guy writing Tomb Raider, all of the additions, all of the creations and
well, see
renditions,
when I
all were male. You can tell, and
well,
it's disturbingly obvious.
and for me, I love Bayonetta. I love Laura Croft.
Yes,
Because these are very empowered women who are in control of their
but
sexiness, but there are women.
like I said, though, sorry to cut you off. This is one important thing that needs to be
Yeah.
said. You will not see me review Bayonetta on this channel because that is I don't. When I mention mature rated games, it's going to be if it ties in with the topic, either with me and my wife or with me and Anthony. Ones that have sensuality because of this channel and how I want to make it a ministry. Unless it has a tie-in like Bayonetta is going in against political corruption. I can use that somehow. That's
Yeah.
going to be a very strong exception. And I can find costumes to you can it's a Nintendo bought out platinum, and so you can get her in a Mario costume if you really want to.
Or Peach.
Or Metroid or Fox. But I'm not gonna have very many sensual tie-ins because they like I said, this draws the line for me. I still won't play mature rated games around my kids, but I
Yeah, we
definitely
do
won't
it
talk
when
about
they're
mature
asleep.
rated
Yeah.
games on my show, on in my channel. They're great to play, they're awesome, I love them. There's a time and a place.
Mhm.
And Bayonetta is among the very few that I can think that has a sensual a strong emphasis on the sensual side of things that has a slight tie-in. That's the only one. Diablo all day every day. You're going your character you choose and create. You're literally going and fighting demons. I can use that. I can use Doom. You're in Mars. You're going to fight demons. Dark Side or not Dark Side. Dark Souls. Dark Souls. Well, Darksiders too. Darksiders I can use because
it's basically war and death.
Well, it's talking about the apocalypse, and they're making a third one, which has pestilence, which is a female that has a whip.
Yay!
If that game comes out to the Switch, I'll be more than happy to review it or talk about it, have a tie-in with it. I'm saying this to offset the you're a hypocrite. No, I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm saying right now there's an exception to every rule, and I'm telling you where those exceptions are right now.
Well, in representation of different body types, not all girls are gonna be skinny with small boobs. I'm a bigger girl, and I have fairly big lovelies.
And I have a very personal experience why I tend to go towards the medium sized ones. And that's just for the most part. They tend to be the nicer ones. They if you can find a nice one, anymore it's getting harder and harder. But guys, if you're single and you're looking, don't approach them like it's a piece of meat with legs. Women can smell that instantly, and they will react accordingly.
Well, and
If you want to actually win her heart, fight for her heart. Prove that you're a decent guy first. Prove that you're not going to be a jerk. Like with the incest, involuntarily celibate. That's or incel. That that is becoming a terrorist organization. The past two shootings have been because of that. And that's I have strong issues with that.
mm,
And if you really feel that way, you should seek mental health yesterday. I say that because that's how urgent and important it is.
yeah, well, and there's a lot of feminists who are sex negative who do not like seeing women who are empowered by their sexy side or showing because they considered that as mm, male gaze or something. But
It's
there's
a
a
form
way.
of feminazism.
Yeah.
Basically, the way I call that is because there are females that believe that they are superior to everything. There are males that feel they are superior to everything. There are extreme opposites. The ones in
Both are sexist in their own way.
they are both sexist in their own way. I'm obviously not sexist, and neither is my wife. We found a common medium. We found a common ground. God had to work on both of us in order for us to, you know,
Yeah.
to meet with each other.
And the thing with, and also the best relationships in video games, as in real life, is communication. The Fire Emblem series is really good about that. Yes, I play Fire Emblem.
They're
I
fun games. Don't get me wrong. Again, because of the sensuality of some of the characters, I won't talk too much on that. I'll briefly bring it up, like in cases like this. But as far as a flat out review, you might not see that on this channel. You
we
won't
might
see
stick more to like Nintendo. Uh,
you.
more of the kid friendly side of Nintendo.
Yeah,
Um.
and you also won't see video game footage. One, I don't have yet a second camera to do that, and two, that's not what I want this channel to be about. And DMC strikes are a thing, and
Yeah, we don't want to deal with that.
becoming even more and more. You really have to. What Jim Sterling does is he deliberately plays footage from various from he knows Japan and Nintendo, American Nintendo, anyone in between have a free fall, and whenever they decide they can't do it, they cancel each other out. He eventually gets the money out. He has he has a name for it. I can't remember. Watch his channel. It's a good show. Good channel.
I think it's called the Jim Cool Position.
That's his Monday specific one.
Oh, okay.
Jim impressions he does. He also talks about he does a lot of things, but he has mentioned how he does the basically the DMC cancellation is there's that's basically what it is, but he has a name for it. It's
well,
kind of funny.
Well, and also I do watch. Well, I did watch TB before he passed.
Rest in peace, TB. I bought one of your games not because of how you reviewed it, but I liked your opinion on it. I did end up getting Immortal Redneck just because of your review. I know you didn't really. You thought it was mediocre at best. You're welcome to your opinion. I like it because it's an unrealistic shooter, and I didn't want a realistic shooter. I wanted something to have fun with. But I did that in my review, as well as we also got Battle Chef Brigade.
Yes,
and you actually liked that one.
And I absolutely love that game. That is another game I kind of want to play with my son and my daughter when they grow up a little bit, because it's about food.
Yeah. Jenna, if you stumble upon this channel, our prayers and thoughts go to you and your family.
And you're doing an awesome job on the co-op channel.
I liked your reaction to the E3 thing. That was funny. But we love and miss your husband. He was a great addition to YouTube. Yeah. And he is sorely missed.
And wow.
We're going a little too long, so we might have to do some extra editing on this, guys. You have a beautiful, blessed night, and
you have a
God bless you.
You have a wonderful whatever.
My United States of whatever. I got you included.
Because we don't know when you're gonna watch it, morning, afternoon, night. So
or just listening to it in the background while you're playing an app like me with most of my YouTubes.
So you guys have a wonderful whatever, and we will see you guys next time.
Good night.